Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Darren, and in today's video we'll be covering Subtlety Rogue PvP guide for the patch 7.3. Now, before we go on with the guide, I do want to say a few things. First of all, there was not a lot of changes happening from 7.5 to 7.3. 7.3 serves as mostly a major patch for the content, not as much as class changes. So, as far as Rogue is concerned, there's not enough of significant changes to cover in this video. However, Subtlety Rogue in 7.3 is still a powerful spec, still has a lot of CC, probably the most versatile CC in the game, still has great potential for both battlegrounds, rated battlegrounds, and competitive arenas. So without further ado, let's get into our comprehensive guide for PvP for Subtlety spec of 7.3. First of all, let's talk about stats. While we don't really have stats that we can stack due to stat templates, which scale our stats based on item level, so the game could be more about show of skill rather than show of gear, in 7.3 we are going to see a little bit of a deeper divide between somebody who is new at Subtlety with about 800 item level and somebody who is currently playing Subtlety at about 930. The difference between those two players will be about 13%, so the more item level you can stack, the faster you'll be able to bridge the divide. So when it comes to stats and how to get better at Rogue in terms of gearing and preparing yourself, getting more AP for your artifact weapon and getting more points into your artifact weapon is going to help you in damage and health and concordance buff, which will give you random procs of agility, as well as item level gear will allow you to do slightly more damage. So the more of that you can stack, the better. Now let's talk a little bit about talents. The talents didn't really change from 7 to 5, so let's talk about the following. Gloom Blade, in order to be able to get through both Clothies and Plate, since it is pure magical damage, and currently in 7.3 still is probably one of the better talents in the game. Subterfuge, so then your openers can have a little bit extra flexibility, so you can weave a lot more abilities into them. Vigor for the energy regeneration, which Subtlety definitely needs, as well as the extra energy pooling that you can use for your openers. Listeners, because it's probably the best option when it comes to damage reduction. 30% damage reduction is huge for rogues and makes us super tanky. Prey and the Weak combos together into the Rogue stun lock rotation, where we keep our target stunned for basically most of our burst, so by having a target stunned, you'll simply deal 10% more damage to them. Dark Shadow allows our Shadow Dance to increase our damage in PvP by 25%, which makes for some crazy burst. Mark for Death offers a reliable way to generate comp points, whether they be used for kidneys or whatever your purpose may be, with a fairly short cooldown specifically for Subtlety. Now, there are some options in terms of talents that you can pick depending on what you're trying to do with Subtlety, but for the most part, this is the cookie cutter build. If you want to see more types of builds, you're more than welcome to check out my channel for those. Now, let's talk a little bit about honor talents, as those are more specific depending on your situation. In the first row, we have Medallion, which you should be running for just about every single type of rogue, unless you are an orc or a human. If you're an orc or a human, then Relentless and Adaptation might end up yielding you a little bit better results in the long run. Be sure to read up on all the abilities. And in the second row, Reinforced Armor covers most of the cases, unless you're going against pure melee like Windwalkers and Arms Warriors, where sparring would actually end up yielding better results in specific arenas, or simply if in BGs, most of those physical melee give you a lot of trouble. On the third row, Maneuverability is probably the best option for Subtlety in all situations. On the fourth row, Smoke Bomb is generally the better option, but in Battlegrounds you are free to go Honor Among Thieves to net yourself a little bit extra combo points. On the next row, we have Cold Blood, which serves for probably the best damage and bonus, but you can opt out to go for Dagger and Dark in Battlegrounds in particular, because it's a lot easier to weave in, and it's a lot less of a tell than it is in arenas. On the last row, it's really an option between Thieves Bargain and Phantom Assassin. Thieves Bargain got nerfed in patch 7.3, but it should still be viable to run, as it increases your damage by 10%, lowers your health by 15%, and gives you Vanish a 45-second cooldown instead of a 30, making it a great option for battlegrounds and arenas as long as you use it properly. But if you're struggling with classes that are able to global you because of the health reduction of Thieves Bargain, then Phantom Assassin will be an excellent option, providing you extra crit, basically 100% crit chance for your Eviscerate, and not taking away any of your health that Thieves Bargain would. Both of them are great options, so decide which one is working best for you. But for most rogues that are trying to get better at Subtlety, I would recommend Thieves Bargain and use Phantom Assassin against, let's say, classes in Arena that are able to global you in a single stun lock. Now, let's talk a little bit about the quote-unquote rotation. And the reason I say quote-unquote is because in PvP, you shouldn't think of abilities as a rotation. You're not always going to use same abilities on different situations, because it's not quite a PvE type of game. In a raid environment, you're able to predict what abilities you're going to use on a boss and generate as many common points as needed based on what abilities are available. In a PvP situation, things are a little bit more sporadic and things can go from one way to another. Things go from up to down, enemies can be low in health and get fully topped off. Sometimes enemies might even trinket some of the most random CC ever, putting you in a weird situation. So you should really be aware that you should learn how to adjust the situation, but the general option about subtlety when it comes to your rotation, your openers are very important, and learning how to establish a proper opener will help you in the long run. Your opener should be able to establish a Nightblade, which increases the damage you deal to the target by 15%, a stun lock, locking out the target, not letting him use abilities, maybe even forcing a trinket out of them, as well as with parrying the weak, putting on a 10% damage increase on top of it. As many shadow strikes into the target to build comp points, the more the merrier, and as many eviscerates as possible for the damage increase. Put it together and you should have yourself an explosive opener that establishes everything you need. Also, you're free to use Backstab or Gloomblade when you don't have any possible charges of Shadow Dance available. Now, when it comes to openers, I've made a plethora of videos on Subtlety Rogue openers, so I'll have them linked in the description below. These openers are from patch 7.5, but they still function properly in patch 7.3. Please go ahead and check out those videos as soon as possible in order to get your openers on the way and start playing Subtlety. Otherwise than that, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to check out more stuff on my channel, because the best way to learn how to PvP as a certain specialization is to simply watch videos of somebody else play it, or live streams, and I do both of those. So you're more than welcome to subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other content. Even some of the 7.25 content still works for current case for Subtlety, and you're free to check out some of my live streams. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.